Oh, Ian is here. That's nice. Okay. Hello, everybody. This is the December 2022 edition of the Chapter Leaders Meeting, and an opportunity for us to catch up on what's cooking and to think about what ought to be cooking. We can begin with introductions. I'm John Schull, co-founder of this fine non-organization. And I'll pass it to Jeremy.
Hi, folks. I'm Jeremy Simon, another co-founder, just helping out where I can, mostly behind the scenes. I do a lot of infrastructure and support on the sort of behind the scenes, like I said, web infrastructure, help desk, that sort of thing. And looking forward to seeing what you guys have going on and where else I can help. Why don't I pass it over to Ian?
Hello, everyone. I'm Ian Roy from Brandeis University, where I'm the Director for Research, Technology, and Innovation. My group runs the Maker Lab, Digital Scholarship Lab, and Automation Labs. So we use a lot of these hands-on tools. We've had a chapter that's been on and off active for about the last 6 years. And right now I'm coordinating some of the education conversations around how we can use this as a pedagogy in more education spaces in higher ed and K through 12. But also like documentation, onboarding, sorting the design complexity, more on that side of things. And I will, pass it off to Madison.
Hi, everyone. I'm Madison Bondock. I am the chapter leader of e-NABLE DC, which is based in the DMV area. So we have DC, Maryland, Virginia. We've been active on and off similarly since 2018. Right now, kind of our main focus is just getting established as a 501c3 nonprofit, because that was kind of our personal goals as an organization. And kind of our plans for the future is, I guess, attending more events to just promote, e-NABLE and, our resources and volunteer group, and an active project, which was kind of just a last minute thing, but Eric from Marymount e-NABLE, I believe, is going to Togo at the end of December. So he kind of reached out to our chapter to help just, 3D print a few Phoenix hands and limited arms, hopefully to showcase to an orthopedic center there. So that's kind of the scoop with our chapter.
That's really cool, but I missed the beginning of that sentence. Someone is going to somewhere, and so you're not...
Oh, yeah, sorry. Eric Bubar is going to,
okay.
Yeah, he's going to Togo, West Africa, at the end of December, and he just asked us to print some arms that he can kind of demo or showcase. So that's kind of what we're working on this week.
Do you know why he's going to Togo or how?
I don't know all the details. You're just like, hey, I'm going to try to reach out to clinics and showcase devices. Can you help print these for me? So
that's great and good to know.
Yeah.
This is why we have these meetings. We actually find things out. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. But yeah, so besides that, we haven't really had any active projects recently, but hopefully that will change in this coming year.
Yeah. Okay, I'm eager to follow up on both what Ian has been doing in the education space and what you're doing towards a 501c3 and what the thinking is behind that. We salute you. But we can say hello to Zeynep.
Hi, everyone. This is Zeynep calling from the Turkish chapter. We've been active since 2014 and an official NGO since 2017. With approximately 4,000 volunteers in Turkey. Yes, and our strongest muscle is, I think, communication skills and optimizing resources. And we are also the co-founders of the first makerspace in Turkey, but one of many now. We have a lot of projects going on at the same time. And this year is our another level up year because we finally got some funding at the beginning of the year and got a lot of things done. I'm eager to share with you guys. And nice to see you all again.
Nice.
And last but not least, I can't see your name, Enable Events.
That would be
Oh,
Sarah.
yeah. Sarah, you want to rename your,
I'm Sarah Gelbard. I've taken over for Ben Rubin as I think my title is Media Coordination Fellow. So I'm helping to manage meetings and the hub, and I also have some long-term projects that I'm excited about working on, and I have a background in public health research and journalism, so I'm excited to bring that to e-NABLE this year.
Okay.
Nice
I
to meet you.
I just got to
I think
ask real
that-
quick, Zeynep, you said that you guys started the first makerspace there in Turkey, and now you have how many that you know of?
I wouldn't know, but hundreds.
Wow. Impressive.
For
Yeah.
example, a lot of schools have maker spaces now,
Okay.
but I don't think a maker space startup has many of them have not survived like us.
That's the same here, yeah.
Because it's the money earning cycle is not working. So either
Yeah.
you're an NGO or you're an educational system.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
we
Thank
are
you.
surviving because of the NGO.
Well, so I think I'd like to hear that story. I think you've got some big structural developments, but at first I just want to give I want to frame this. All right. So, you know, Jeremy and I have been here since the beginning of time. Many of Zeynep actually has been here with us for quite some time, but she's done great work and continues to do great work. Madison, I want you to know that Ian has been involved in quite some time, but he's one of this new group that we've tried to recruit called Emerging Leaders. Others who are not here today are Rick Williams, who has taken over some of Bob Rieger's activities, and Adam Jennings, who is trying to coordinate a project with Afghanistan, and who is trying to bring together other medical professionals. He's a occupational therapist and a health administrator. And Madison, you're now working in a hospital, so we should connect you with Adam. But Madison, the real reason I'm laying this out is that Jeremy is increasingly putting time into other ventures, although he continues to do more than anyone else to keep e-NABLE alive and well, which we continue to appreciate. And I'm still a regular at these meetings, but I'm very heavily involved in eco-restoration issues. And besides, Jeremy and I are getting a little old in the tooth, so we are actively trying to find people to begin taking up leadership roles and perhaps adding new visions to what's going on. And you've been around for a long time and have sort of stayed in the space, and you're now developing a nonprofit. So Madison, I'm looking at you. This is a real opportunity. I know you're starting a new job, but it would be great to have you pushing people around and telling them what to do for a change. Okay, Zeynep, what's new?
I haven't been here for a while, but I had told you some of the stories that we have been doing since the beginning of this year. But to recap for those who I haven't seen before, we've been doing collaboration and cooperative projects for a while as the NGO and the startup. And we have been in contact with this communication giant firm in Turkey for almost 5-6 years. And we had done small projects with them, but kept in touch, pitched sponsorship for a few times and then backed off because we thought it was smarter to let them come to us when the time came.
Mhm.
which did happen. And we got a lot of visibility during our 7 years in the media, a lot in Turkey, because we click all the right boxes: technology, kids, design, everything, as you know. So they came up with this small project again last year, but bigger than the previous ones. We did that with the high school in the east part of Turkey. We did some online training for high school kids, and then finally managed to go there and do face-to-face training. And then we assigned them a case, and they did the case. Not very good, but they did it. We had to redo it, of course, but it was a good publicity project. And we managed it so well that they came up with the sponsorship of the waiting list themselves. They asked for a budget for this year. We had a wait list of 120 kids, which was actually more, but we didn't update the site. So they saw 120 and asked for the budget. We gave them a budget. They agreed. And then they donated the money at the beginning of this year. In which time we were stuck in between places because we were inside. We had moved in the pandemic from our makerspace, our own makerspace, to inside the university campus because they didn't ask for rent. But we also wanted to make projects with them, collaborate on projects, and we couldn't do that. We were in different mindsets. So we started going around in other places, and we finally arrived at this a mall. We moved to this mall. We decided. I mean, we how do you say? Decided that we could pay an amount of money, a rent, that we could at least cover the expenses of the space. Like they were half donating the rent, and we would pay something, but not as much as the other shops. So at the end of this year, we moved there. It took us some time to renovate the place according to the makerspace needs, and we opened up in March. With the money, we used the money for the rent to put up a design team, to arrange the machines, the 3D printers, back them up, do the repairs and everything, buy some materials and so forth. And finally, we were partially paid as managers of the project. Not a big team. 6-7 people, including the three founders. But I can proudly say that during the 6-7 years since we started, but mostly we started counting what we do, keeping data from 1917 when we became an NGO, which is approximately 5 years. We thought we were we had completed 200 kid hands. We had completed 200 cases, which doesn't mean 200 hands, but we renew them as they came back to us. We don't have a system to follow up on them. But this year only, out of the 120, we're almost on target. We are 110 only this year.
Yeah.
Yes. Whoo.
That's great. Fantastic.
Yeah. 30 of them are renewals. They came back to us. And then the rest is new cases that we were able to do. And I think the reasoning behind it is one, the in-house system that we were able to finally deliver more cases and smoothly and fast. Plus, we had budgets to actually go to remote places in Turkey, especially hubs like big cities in center, in west, in east, south, and so forth. And we tried to manage the events so that we, at the same hour or day at least, we made an event with the volunteers, new volunteers, old volunteers, passing the torch and so forth. We asked for new cases to arrive. We took their measurements. We matched the cases with the volunteers. And then while we were doing the cases in our central place in Istanbul, we also involved the new volunteers in the cases. So by this way, we could enhance our collaboration web as well. Now, we didn't have any, for example, governmental or municipality collaborations before. Now we have 3 municipalities who have signed a contract with us to collaborate on cases. So they act as if there are chapters in Turkey. Our representatives in those cities. That became an opportunity for our volunteers scattered in those cities to see them as a hub and to regenerate their energy. We're still working on that. I can't say that's very, very efficient, but all of this has made a very good PR, of course. I'm trying to use that PR to secure a sponsorship deal, to continue the sponsorship deal for next year. And also, we had been talking about organizing events before the pandemic, asking for you guys to come here, us to go around in Europe, in the States, to make projects together, and to at least have some contribution to the universal open source library from Turkey. That's one of the focuses that we are trying to concentrate right now. And director who was asking, as some of you know, to work with us for another project in South Africa has volunteered to make our film. So, and she has secured a grant from the Ministry of Culture, a small grant, but just in case. And the project was like runner-up and finalist in many, global and local festivals and project fundings and so forth. And we have started shooting middle of this year. We are looking for more funding, and I thank the e-NABLE community for their support and help for that too. We are also, thank you. And we are also helping out with the new family group that has been evolving. They are now not an official entity, NGO or whatever. They have gathered around this clinical psychologist who had a daughter, who has a daughter with limb difference. And she started looking for communities that she could connect with, and she found us. And then she started a group for families. It's like she's idolizing the Finn project.
She's what?
Was it the Finn project? I cannot remember was it? Yes. That's I don't know the country where it was founded, but it's like making everyone aware that limb difference is like no other difference.
Lucky Finn project.
Lucky Finn, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the Finn project. Okay, yes.
Yes.
That's great. So this clinical psychologist is located where?
Istanbul, and yes, we are collaborating. She's also working as a psychologist, so she has she's been doing this in her spare time, but we managed to round up families twice this year, and next week we have an end of year party with the families that we can host in our makerspace. So her aim is to manage this support group for families who have kids with limb difference. And I've asked and offered help for making a guide for families. Because we do have a guide for volunteers, but we don't have a guide for families here. End of year, I might have missed a couple of things, but things are going good for the time being, and happy to share with you guys, and I can take any questions if you like.
That's dynamite. That's really great, Zainab. Jeremy, your hand's up.
Yeah, I don't have a question at the moment, but I do have a couple of comments. Wonderful work, Zainab. Just so much going on there. And what it made me think about is kind of a core challenge, I think, that we've seen over the years with the e-NABLE, which is we get these wonderful pockets of activity. And then it's a matter of figuring out, all right, how do we make that reproducible? How do we make it so that others can have some of similar successes and make it easier for them to do so? Sharing examples, sharing templates, sharing even just the information about what was done and how it was done can be really helpful. So, Ben Rubin had done some wonderful work with chapter spotlights. Show of hands, who here has seen a chapter spotlight? Any of those? Yeah, okay. All of you, wonderful. So I think Ben did a wonderful job with those, but as I think about it, chapter spotlight is great if you want to read a wonderful story about what a chapter is doing. There's lots of great narrative, there's lots of great storytelling, lots of great photos, but I'm thinking about a different version of that, either instead of or in addition to a chapter spotlight. I'm thinking about a condensed version specifically for sharing lessons learned. I'm thinking a bullet format, what worked, what didn't work, and then, just bullets of what worked well. And for each item that we list of what worked well, maybe link to a template or link to resources so that others could do that. And I think it would make it so much easier to digest and kind of learn from, instead of having to kind of search through a long narrative and find the lessons. I guess I'm hoping, Sarah, that I know you've been really busy just kind of getting up to speed and taking over everything, but if your bandwidth allowed for it, I think you having a journalist background will be in a wonderful position to trial this. If we could come up with kind of a condensed format, like I said, of just, what worked well and what didn't work well, and then start to share those, that could be a really great way to start kind of duplicating some of the successes and avoiding some of the pitfalls. And then we just kind of have to repeat that. Just my thought.
Zainab, I saw your thumbs go up. Do you have some thoughts about how to push that along?
I would suggest going through the chapter spotlights and coming up with key questions. Maybe, like you can, if you go through all of them, maybe, you can see some patterns that are the same, or some experiences that make a difference.
That's a good point. We actually have a database already of interesting stories, but they could be sliced and diced to extract best practices and then seek templates. That's great.
And
like, for example, Zainab, you were successful in getting government funding. I'm sure you submitted some documentation as part of that, where you gave them your mission and some, information about what you're doing and how you're doing it. If that could be translated, that would be a wonderfully helpful document for others looking to do the same thing. Just as an example, things like that can really help others who haven't, had that success yet.
yeah, sure. Plus, the chapter spotlights have been done for a while, and it's been a while since ours has been, for example.
Oh yeah.
And the data has changed.
Sure.
So it
refresh,
could be
yeah.
also an opportunity to update that data as well.
That's true. Well, congratulations on everything you're doing, Zainab.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
But clearly, having a committed backer has really liberated a lot of your potential, which might.
And it has also, I think, encouraged other corporations to donate as well.
Interesting.
Because
have-
like we have been doing corporate collaborations, small doses, like, but I see the perception change when I say that, okay, Turkcell is supporting us.
Do you have somebody on your team that's responsible for establishing these new partnerships, getting new sponsorships? That's all you? Okay.
That has been mostly me. I mean, I'm the communications person in our teamwork, but I'm planning to pass on the torch next year.
Good luck with that.
So as you guys are thinking of doing some passing on, I'm thinking of doing some for myself too.
Well, start
Interesting.
sooner.
That's in order to do more of this relationship building, or in order to recover some of your life now that you've got a Robotel on a sound footing? Number two.
Second one.
So
Good luck.
really. Let's talk about that a little bit, shall we?
Yeah, shall we? I'm not sure. Okay.
Well,
I don't think I can quit completely. I
No, of
think
course
I'm
not.
addicted.
that's right. No, I think
but-
Jeremy and I are there also, and I think we're both pleased that there's an organization that needs to be, that frankly is well worth preserving, and which is, as you have demonstrated, bubbling all over the year. The thing is, there's a bubble here and there's a bubble here, and then this one goes quiet, and then COVID hits everyone and you lose track of everything, and then you find out again. And meanwhile, each of us evolves. So, one of the goals of today's meeting was to talk about the future, right? And I just described an e-NABLE, which is a very loose collection of autonomous chapters, each of whom has got its own, period of hibernation and eruption and good news, etc. And then there's, frankly, Jeremy and me and Sarah and Rick,
Handful of others, yeah.
and a few others who are sort of here quasi-responsible, and not very, I would add, for the larger network. Now, maybe that's perfect. Maybe that's e-NABLE's real strength. I mean, I have a theory that e-NABLE's real strength is that it's not a strong central organization, and that allows all sorts of groups to recognize and seize opportunities when they see it, and so on. I know how to tell that story, but I also know how to tell the story from Jeremy and my point of view, which is that there's so much more that could be done, and yet we ourselves don't have the resources to do them.
Well, and it does come back to what you just said, John. I mean, for the whole 10 years we've been in operation, it's always been this question of organizational structure versus no organizational structure. And there's kind of these two extremes, right? At one time in our history, we tried going down the path of setting up an actual nonprofit entity that would be the kind of the governance body across the entire global community. It did not work, but that's not to say that the other extreme is where we should be. There's a whole spectrum of kind of structure and governance options, and I don't know that we've fully explored that middle ground. With more structure, I do think there comes more ability to coordinate and get things done, but we haven't figured out how to do that yet, because in part of that bad experience that we had, maybe in trying to go too far years back.
All right, so there you go. We've identified the topic of conversation. Please discuss.
Well, I completely agree that structure gives more outcome as like optimization, more productivity. but it makes you more rigid.
That's right.
But the opposite end of flexibility reflects to the productivity again. I agree with Jeremy. It's very hard to find the balance there. But in addition to this, I think it's the topic that we are embracing is also very new to the people, to the community, to the academic community, to everyone.
Which
Like,
topic do you mean?
the whole thing. I mean, limb difference, the etymology of it, the conversation of it, the 3D printing, the 3D printing tech it's not new as a technology, but it's new as being used by the people on the streets. Like when we first started here in Turkey, we were trying to explain the technology in addition to what we were doing. Now everybody's kind of has the idea about 3D, what's 3D printing, so we don't have to explain that. And even in the government and in other NGOs and so forth, now there's this more knowledge, more practical data that we can build upon. But we have also been working on a little bit building our giving some of our energy towards that as well. So I'm not sure whether we should go completely structural, as you said, because I think it preserves the management and the core and the productivity of the NGO. Okay, but I've been in the NGO community here in Turkey for a while now, and I've been with small NGOs, social entrepreneurs, big NGOs, and all sorts of kinds of things. Some have been alive for the sake of their own lives now.
Exactly.
Like they're just sustaining. So
right.
yes, they are doing some projects there, but they're not as effective as the big picture that they seem they are. So I'm afraid of becoming one of that too, but we have such a long way to go there, like not in even the horizon yet. So
I understand.
But I don't think us here, the Robotel in Turkey can become that, because we don't have this mindset. Like, I applied for this cultural ministry funding for this competition idea to design a hand from Turkey to the community, and they didn't understand the Creative Commons licensing yet. So we are all still arguing open source design now. So we have a lot of argument going on philosophically, etymologically. Everything is also happening at the same time. So I think we have to find a way in between.
Could you talk a little bit about the universal open source library that you mentioned? That sounds like a really cool initiative.
It is the e-NABLE design library that I renamed.
He's talking about you, Ian.
I just renamed it.
Talking about what your guy's working on.
I was wondering if there was a bigger Turkish initiative that I had missed. This is like
I have been talking about that a lot lately. I really hope to see that come to fruition. You know, a categorized library of hands and arms and all kinds of other assistive
I heard
devices.
you say it. I think I heard it somewhere. Yes.
We're working on it. I think we were surprised to hear that maybe it already existed. So
All right.
John, you got your hand up.
Well, I do. Just to order these. Okay, so the story from your point of view and your point of location. And the story from our point of view is very different. And I think that's true really for everyone in e-NABLE. I recommended a book, which apparently Ian has already ordered subsequent to my recommendation, called Impact Networks by David Ehrlichman. And impact networks turns out to be a term of art for those who've sort of studied this. And they make a real distinction between impact networks and organizations. And within the category of import networks, they talk about impact networks. They talk about ones whose job is just to enhance conversation. There are ones that are designed to really change facts on the ground, and they make a number of other valuable distinctions. They talk about all sorts of practices and ways of doing it. It's the best book I've found for sort of framing this general discussion with real attention on the non-standard way of organizing. So I'm halfway through it. I've recommended it to other people. People resonate to it. It's, I think, probably the best description right now of what the larger e-NABLE has been. And I'm impressed by hearing about what you're doing, hearing that the direction Madison is trying to go, that one of the functions of our impact network is, in fact, to create a context and provide resources that then allow groups like yours and yours to say, okay, we have a big enough opportunity that we should form an organization that will tap into that impact network. So that's some recommended reading for when we carry on the conversation. From my point of view, the challenge for North America, where we, interestingly, we played an important role in getting this thing going and in maintaining a large number of chapters in the United States, many of which are universities and colleges and schools. We have a big problem right now. And the problem is we have so many makers who want to get on board. They've bought the initial vision and they say, I want to make a hand for a person. This sounds like the best thing ever. And we don't have people. We don't have enough recipients, or we haven't worked out a good enough workflow that all of those makers are getting the hands they're going to get. And so they don't have things they can do. It's a great learning experience, but then they produce these devices and frankly, we don't know where they go. It's by no means a waste of time, but we clearly haven't connected all the dots. My thinking about where we might go in this score is to recognize that there are a couple of projects cooking right now, and I want to get Zeynep's reaction to one of them, that I think there is the potential of a way of engaging all of the people who have 3D printers want to do this kind of thing. One is the Splints for Ukraine initiative, which is launching any day now or any week now. We have now a pretty well worked out pipeline for flexible splints that are printed quickly and easily, shipped flat, and will be sent to the Ukraine, where they'll be dealing with all sorts of people who have immediate and acute needs. A second project is this new adjustable, flexible socket connected to a gripper hand, which is something that Thai Reach in Thailand called to my attention just this week. And this is something for people who have near wrist amputations, right? If they have partial hands, the original e-NABLE devices are relevant. If they have close to the elbow devices, this is not going to work. But if they have a low forearm amputation, this is something that doesn't require customization. You could have a bunch of these in inventory, and when you hit the field, Zeynep, if you see people who need this kind of thing, you can ask them for their, you can assess what size they need and you could just pull it out of a box and put it together and give it to them. The point is, it doesn't require customization, and I suspect that while, you know, near wrist amputations are a subset of all upper limb amputations, they might be a population that we could really get to if we worked on that workflow. And then a third project that's cooking in the community is just a wonderful and I think very stimulating concept that Rick Williams has prototyped. He had a blind woman who was pregnant, who had gotten a sonogram of her coming child. And so he printed a lithophane on a cylinder. You know what a lithophane is? Some of you may not. Okay, so Madison, a lithophane is a 3D printed thin sheet of plastic, although he did it on a cylinder. When light shines through it, you see a 2D image, but it looks like a 3D image because it's all based on the depth in the image. And when it's done on a cylinder and you illuminate the cylinder from the inside, it really has quite an interesting look to it. The important point is that for a blind woman, this is a way for her to really, she wears it as a pendant, and she can sort of interact with this image of her coming baby. Again, it's not a large population, but it's a natural for a global network of people with 3D printers. And I think it's a very heartwarming and potentially media getting strategy. Now, those three things, splints, these tie gripper arm devices, and these things don't require the kind of time consuming 3D customization and they tap into different populations. So my thought about next year is that we try to tell a story about the global e-NABLE concept as it applies to a global community of 3D printing aficionados, but try to expand the scope from the original notion that I'm going to make a wrist-activated hand like those people from e-NABLE, which is hard, time-consuming, and the fitting is really a challenge, and try to develop a pipeline that will engage all of the people who want to be involved in things that are almost as photogenic and heartwarming, but more practical. Okay, that's a vision for a way in which we can expand our image in the coming year. But Zeynep, I have some concrete, and Madison, I'm going to call on you in a minute because I see your head nodding and I want to get your reactions to all the things we've just talked about. And I will note you're in Washington, D.C., which is a really interesting location for, you know, an organization like this. But Zeynep, do you see or have near wrist amputees who might benefit from a device like this?
I have seen some, but not as many as the ABS syndrome that we have been so concentrated on. Because we are concentrated on kids here in Turkey. Most of our cases are ABS. So we don't have any like this, we don't have a statistic saying that this is what happens most, but from my experiences, the most design we use are the unlimited hand, Team Unlimited arm. Because a lot of the kids don't have, wrists, they have some kind of growth after the elbow, but not to the, it changes a lot, but the most design, the design we use the most is the unlimited arm. We could, I think, for the second project that you said, to comment on that, I think we could advise these to the orthopedic and prosthetic centers that are now starting to use 3D printing as part of their manufacturing process now. At least to offer some kind of economical or free version instead of the expensive prosthetics.
You're talking about this
The-
project now.
Yes, yes. The challenge there is the prosthetic sector, economic value that's going on there. It's going to be hard to penetrate. That's partially why we have been staying away from adults as well. For the Ukrainian project, I wasn't able to put so much effort on it because we had so many things going around here. But I congratulate everybody who's been involved. And for the last thing, we have been talking about sustainable strategy ourselves to go on doing these hands, because now that we have increased our productivity, we are starting to find it more harder to find families. Because there is no statistic, there is no numbers that we can ask from the government as well. So we have to be visible in order for families to contact us.
Mind you, yeah.
So it's a, but as we see the sector, the prosthetic orthopedic community using 3D printing, the government is a little bit getting aligned with the new technology and so forth. I mean, this is new as well for us. We haven't put it on paper yet, but our strategy seems to be going, instead of doing hands as Robota, we are aiming to be an NGO for the use of technology for good, for social good.
Yes.
And that's the roadmap that we are working right now on. We are thinking of absorbing the makerspace instead of, I mean, buying the brands there, and then making the makerspace and the educational part of what we are doing as an income source for the NGO. Like, instead of doing the actual hands for everyone, we will teach everyone to do hands and sprints and supports and canes for the blind and whatever, or using not only 3D printing but electronics, coding, software, etc. All kinds of technology for good, for social good, and then documenting these projects and supporting these projects so that the community can do good within them. I mean, a school can do good around itself. A person can do some good if in his neighborhood and stuff like that. And we aim to be the idea and design generator of the hub of the community, instead of doing the actual hands. It's because at some point everybody is going to be able to do the hands on its own. Like, all the documentation is already there, actually. So, I mean, they don't need us to do the hands.
Well, you would think so, but I actually think that social, well, you're right. Technically,
in theory,
most of
yes,
us
I
have
agree with
downloaded
you.
and done it, but making it clear to them that they can do it is the hard part, and making it easy for them.
Yes, that's, I mean, that's our, I think, the final aim. Like, we are enablers for you to do the social good with technology. That's the, I think, our strategy, the final strategy that we are aiming at. And it's also interconnected with the entrepreneurship community, the educational community. It's all interconnected. So I think that could be our big shot. And my collaborator Sardar is working on the documentation and the roadmap to go there. So that's partially how I am a little bit more comfortable handing the torch to him.
That's great. That's great. Madison, at e-NABLE DC, who works with Eric Bubar, one of our busiest but also most accomplished old timers. You have anything to add to this conversation?
I don't know if I have anything to add, but I just want to say I'm excited for the 3 projects that you mentioned, because I think as we were going through the 501c3 and defining what our purpose was, we definitely didn't want to limit ourselves to just prosthetics, since at least in my area, the Maryland School of the Blind has reached out to us, and we've kind of been growing this rapport with just having like a presence in 3D printing, whatever. I guess the recent ones they asked for are like, symbols to teach their teachers, or like Braille guides for their typewriters. So, with that in mind, we kind of wrote our purpose is, prosthetics, but also assistive devices, just, to hopefully umbrella any new ventures that we have in 3D printing. So yeah, I'm just like really excited.
That's great. I want to make sure you saw that Ian has done some work for blind students at Brandeis, and so that might be a good thing to explore, and a good topic for potentially an education meeting. Now that I think, most universities now have obligations for dealing with students with disabilities, and not clear that that network. There's some officer at every institution who has that in their job description. That might be a really interesting group to reach out to, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I think there's also like huge opportunities here for like educational pedagogy centered around these problems of local communities. We have a hackathon where we work with 20 nonprofits, and rather than having like an umbrella challenge, we have students embed on the boards of the nonprofits and then bring those challenges to an event. And then rather than having just the weekend, they do have the weekend for the project, but then having someone on the board, they can implement it. Innovation is a fresh idea plus implementation.
Yeah, sure.
And I've been really impressed by groups that can implement this and get the feedback loops going, to not just have a one-off, to improve over time.
We should talk about that some more, he notes, as we approach the end of the hour. So you're already, well, you both, but you in the States, Ian, are already dabbling in a lot of these things. By the way, I do know that Sarah and I have been wondering what's happening with Noosh, and so we should catch up. But I want to catch up and see the extent to which we can surface these not just 3D printed prosthetics and other for social good activities that you're doing, and see if we can't perhaps use that to reframe what we do and how we do it.
Totally. I think makerspaces are just at the cusp of this. Like all makerspaces are concerned with DEI and making their tools accessible, and then broadly helping with accessibility problems. And I think that also ends on the spectrum of environmental impact, because if we care about DEI problems, environmental impact sort of connects it all. So I'm super interested in that whole, how we can use, like, the culture of abundance already exists in makerspaces. Like, the future is here, just not evenly distributed. So how we can use these as a lever for change in global communities, super interesting future topic.
Ian, if I were you, I would say this is a really good topic for a 1 or 2 day workshop at, I don't know, Brandeis University. We can get some interesting speakers like that guy from e-NABLE, or those people from e-NABLE, and a few others. And I would love to talk to you about that.
I definitely would love to. And I think beyond an event, I think I have some classes we could build this into, and then share that model for others to build classes around.
Okay, and I will also send you a whole other scheme I'm cooking, this eco-restoration scheme, which is currently university-based, outside of e-NABLE, but maybe under Tech for Social Good, Zeynep's framing. It's a way of rejoining my two different missions right now. Zeynep, your hands up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a few things. We've done some work with the blind, such as projects for School of the Blind, doing their memorandum at the end of year in 3D printing so they could see each other. I mean, it was only head sculpture and 3D scanning and printing, stuff like that. We've done other projects too, but we haven't focused on them much. But we do have classes in the makerspace that teach stuff like that. And I wanted to add one more thing to the stuff that we've been doing. We have also collaborated some of the universities here in Istanbul, in Turkey. One of them has our volunteer teacher has been doing hands in his design class. So it's we had done a few before like this, but we hadn't been able to document the designs properly. And these are like some of them are doing designs for special functionalities. Some of them are doing apparatuses for holding or grabbing different stuff. And some of them are trying to improve the current design. So there are special.
We should buy into that.
Places.
This is a university level class?
Yes.
You know, and does that professor speak English?
I think he should, yes.
That
Do you
would
want
be
to
a really
include him
helpful
in
connection. We have a number of design challenges, design opportunities that come and go. And, you know, a problem we've had with some of our initiatives and with a second thing that I'm blanking on already, hackathons, that's it. When Ian talks about hackathons, is that they're very stimulating and they can soak up a great deal of time and attention while they're happening, but getting things to where they become a lasting contribution that other people can use or build upon is a real weak link. For reasons that we are all aware of, but if there was a professor or a university staff person who has an ongoing job, which is to, you know, to preserve an ongoing stream of people who can plug into projects and not, that would change things a lot. So I just want to flag that one of the challenges we have, one of the big challenges of our loose volunteer coordination is that things come and go, and things that don't reach a level of maturity before they go just disappear. I'm beginning to think that the tax we levy on established NGOs and institutional partners, it's not really a tax, but that the groups, the e-NABLE affiliates, the e-NABLE chapters that have some promise of longevity and continuity should be empowered to take responsibility for things that require longevity and continuity in order to maintain the ecosystem, which allows things to pop up and flourish and then go back into hibernation. It's sort of like an ecosystem, right? Or like a species. You need the stable ongoing DNA, which has been what e-NABLE has done. And you need to preserve some habitats in which that you can reliably find that species, and then they find opportunities and they pop up all over the place. Anyway.
Hey, John, I'm going to have to run here. I see that Zeynep has her hand up, but I just wanted to say one thing. I think you've started a really important discussion here. If we really want to dig into sort of planning for next year, I think we need to be thinking about like a 4-hour workshop or something. You know, I just don't think we can get this done in an hour.
Well, I saw enthusiasm from Ian for a 4-hour workshop. it's a challenge. If Ian is in, I'm in. If you're in, if Madison is in, Zaina she brought up her actual thumb.
Let's see if we can make it
Okay.
happen. It's just a matter of finding a day that would work for everyone, but I'd be happy to commit the time. I just think these are bigger discussions and worth having.
Okay, well,
And I would love to help with the structure of that. I like longer form. It's hard for me to say anything in less
I
than 2
would
or 3
love that.
hours.
That would be
Um,
excellent, Ian.
But what I think I would want to start with is the edge finding, defining the edges of the space and where we all fit and how we can fill towards the middle.
Well, let's do it. Ian, do you want to put together like an outline for us? And then we'll use that as a starting point for maybe trying to schedule something.
I
Okay.
can't commit quick short term, but by January, I think I can get something together. We're just in the
Nothing
nothing
semester
happens
wrap up.
before January. That'd be great.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, this has been really a good opportunity to open up some horizons. Congratulations, Madison and Zainab, on your project and progress and advances. Ian, I'm going to send you a few things that may help you figure out how to set the agenda, and the discussion will continue. Anyone who's catching up on this, be aware that you can go to adapt3d.org today and get your printer printing splints. There will be more information, but it's all there. Goodbye, Jeremy. Goodbye, Zainab. Goodbye, Madison. Goodbye, Ian. Goodbye, Sarah. Thank you very much.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you, everyone. Nice to meet you too.
See you soon.
Bye.